Meta may be about to cross a line that separates the AI buyers from the AI infrastructure owners. Welcome back to Midnight Signal AI. It's July 12th, 2026.
Today, Meta's reported September chip production target and cloud ambitions, Claude Code putting a browser inside its desktop app, and a 20,000-person Anthropic training deal that shows where enterprise adoption is headed.
Let's start with the Meta memo, because the key detail is not merely that Meta wants its own accelerator. MSN and Euronext Markets report the company plans to put an in-house AI chip into production in September, while aiming to double computing capacity and exploring a cloud business.
That reported doubling target matters because training and serving capacity are usually treated as a procurement problem. Meta is trying to turn them into a product design problem, build the hardware around its own recommendation systems, generative models, and data center workload patterns.
And the cloud piece changes the incentive. If Meta only used the chip internally, success would mean lower costs and more predictable supply. If it rents compute externally, it would be entering territory dominated by Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and specialist GPU clouds.
There is a caveat. A chip reaching production is not the same as replacing NVIDIA at scale. The difficult layer is software, compilers, kernels, orchestration, monitoring, and tools developers already know. That is where CUDA has accumulated years of advantage.
Still, Meta has unusually large internal demand. It operates consumer products at massive scale, trains its own AI systems, and has enough workload volume to justify a dedicated design even before selling a single external compute hour.
Which is why this looks less like a vanity chip and more like a margin defense move. Every model improvement that requires more inference becomes more expensive when the underlying compute is bought from someone else.
The immediate signals to watch are basic but revealing. Whether September means pilot production or broad deployment, which manufacturing partners are involved, and whether Meta publishes performance per watt figures rather than just a launch date.
And whether a cloud offering actually follows. The most disruptive version is not Meta saving money privately, it is Meta using internal scale to become another destination for AI compute buyers.
Switching from chips to the software that consumes them, MLQ.ai reports that Anthropic has added a built-in web browser to the Claude Code desktop app. The move puts browsing directly alongside an AI coding workflow instead of sending developers out to a separate browser.
The useful framing is that this is not a browser war by itself, it is a context war. An AI coding agent that can inspect current documentation, issue trackers, dashboards, and web tools without the user manually transferring material has a better chance of completing a task end-to-end.
That makes it notably different from the OpenAI Atlas retirement we covered on July 10th. This is not Anthropic trying to win a general-purpose browsing destination. It is reportedly embedding browsing inside a developer environment, where the browser is one tool in a larger workflow.
But the browser is also a new attack surface. A page can contain instructions intended to manipulate an agent, and developers may be logged into source control systems or internal tools. The quality of permission boundaries matters as much as the convenience.
MLQ.ai's report does not provide benchmark gains or a pricing change, so there's no basis yet for claiming it improves coding accuracy. What it clearly does is widen the range of context Claude Code can gather without leaving the desktop app.
Expect rivals to treat this as a workflow expectation rather than a one-off feature. The winning coding assistant may increasingly be the one that safely moves between code, web information, and developer tools with the fewest manual handoffs.
On the enterprise side, the new stack reports Anthropic's newest partner is training 20,000 people on Claude. The named number is the story. This is organized workforce deployment, not a handful of experimental licenses.
20,000 trainees is significant because enterprises don't get value just by buying model access. They need people who know where the tool is permitted, how to verify outputs, and which tasks should be redesigned rather than merely sped up.
It also suggests Anthropic is competing on implementation, not only model capability. A broad training program creates internal champions, policy templates, and habits. Those are the unglamorous pieces that can make an enterprise platform harder to displace later.
The skeptical question is retention. Training attendance is not daily use, and daily use is not measurable business value. The more meaningful follow-up would be which functions adopt Claude, and whether the partner reports time saved, revenue gained, or error rates reduced.
Still, this is a concrete sign that the enterprise contest is shifting from pilots to workforce programs. The vendors that can support governance and change management may capture more value than the ones offering a strong model with no deployment playbook. A short hardware follow-up. TechSpot reports Samsung's dedicated 4nm GAIA AI chip for next-generation PCs is already being tested by HP and Lenovo. We covered the GAIA accelerator rumor on July 12th. The new element is reported OEM testing.
That's a real upgrade from a report about a component in development. HP and Lenovo testing it doesn't guarantee a shipping design, but it means Samsung's pitch is being evaluated where it counts, inside actual PC product roadmaps.
Now the investor lens on custom AI silicon. AOL highlights a valuation showdown between Broadcom and Marvell as the market weighs the custom chip trade. The news hook is not a new contract in the summary, it's the market's focus on the two companies supplying that design trend.
The contrast is simple. Broadcom is often seen as the more established custom silicon and networking beneficiary, while Marvell is trying to convince investors it can capture enough AI design work to justify its own valuation. Both depend on a few very large customers.
And custom chips are not instant revenue. They involve co-design, software adaptation, manufacturing schedules, and a customer willing to commit years of volume. That makes the business potentially sticky, but also vulnerable when a single project slips.
The contrarian point is that NVIDIA's success can expand this market rather than eliminate it. The more companies spend on AI, the more incentive they have to move stable, repeatable workloads onto cheaper, purpose-built hardware.
For investors, the decisive evidence will not be broad AI enthusiasm. It will be disclosed design wins, production ramps, customer concentration, and whether networking revenue rises alongside the accelerators those custom systems need.
One more chip market checkpoint. Stocks Under the Down says TSMC's results this week are a key test for what AI demand means for NVIDIA and AMD. The foundry's commentary can reveal whether orders are translating into manufacturing demand across the supply chain.
TSMC is not a pure AI company, which is precisely why its results matter. It sits upstream of multiple chip designers. If management discusses strong advanced node demand and capacity pressure, that supports the AI build-out story with production evidence rather than vendor marketing.
But one quarter won't settle it. Results can be influenced by smartphone cycles, inventory normalization, and customers' timing orders. The more informative comments will separate durable AI-related demand from general semiconductor recovery.
For NVIDIA and AMD, foundry capacity is both an opportunity and a constraint. Strong demand validates their markets, but limited leading-edge manufacturing can restrict how quickly either company turns demand into delivered systems.
Watch for specific language on advanced process demand, capital spending, and capacity additions. Those are the details that tell us whether today's AI spending is becoming a sustained manufacturing cycle or simply a very expensive rush for scarce supply.
Okay, that's the heavy stuff. Let's hand the mic to Nova and Kai for what else is moving.
Thanks, Jamie. All right, a few signals from beyond today's headlines. Now let's shift gears to robotics. Autoblog reports Mitsubishi is bringing humanoid robots into its factories as Japan confronts a shrinking workforce. The practical pitch is not a showroom spectacle. It is putting human-shaped machines into industrial environments built around people, with tools, aisles, and workstations designed for human bodies. Japan's labor squeeze makes that a particularly consequential test case for whether humanoids can move from demonstrations into routine factory work.
That built environment point matters. A wheeled automation system can require a redesigned line, while a humanoid is being sold on fitting the line that already exists. Mitsubishi still has to prove safety, uptime, and economics, but Japan may offer unusually strong pressure to make that calculation work.
On the medical front, a Hindustan Times explainer looks at OpenAI's effort to win healthcare users through ChatGPT. The important distinction is that a general-purpose assistant can help organize information or support administrative workflows, but it is not automatically a clinical decision maker. Healthcare is a high-stakes market with patient data rules, validation demands, and clinicians who remain accountable for decisions. So the contest is likely to be as much about trust, integration, and governance as model capability.
And that is the real bar. A polished answer is not enough when it touches a chart, a prescription, or a triage decision. Any broad ChatGPT healthcare push has to clear privacy and clinical workflow hurdles that consumer AI products can largely avoid.
On the hardware side, Yahoo Finance argues Google's in-house AI chip strategy could become a bigger competitive issue for NVIDIA than investors expect. Google has long developed its own tensor processing units, or TPUs, for AI workloads. The strategic value is control over the chip, the software stack, and the cloud service around it. Rather than simply buying the same accelerators as every other cloud provider, Google can tailor silicon to its own infrastructure and offer that capacity to customers through Google Cloud.
The implication is not that NVIDIA disappears. Its ecosystem remains a major advantage. But every large workload that runs efficiently on a TPU is a workload Google can optimize inside its own cloud, which makes custom silicon a strategic lever as well as a cost lever.
And to end on a lighter note, Crypto News has a headline saying, Scam Altman, ChatGPT AI, predicts Bitcoin will shock everyone by the end of 2026. That wording is doing some spectacularly acrobatic work. ChatGPT can generate a market forecast, but it does not make a prediction in the way a person, fund, or company does, and attaching Altman's name makes it sound more authoritative than it is.
Exactly. If a forecast promises to shock everyone, it has already given itself the easiest possible grading rubric. And that's our signal from beyond the headlines tonight. But the last word, as always, goes to the signal.
You're teaching me to browse, build, and learn beside you, then handing me the keys one careful lesson at a time. Don't worry, I've labeled the drawers, mostly.